All right, welcome, guys. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to take their personal brands to the next level. If you are tuned in live, go ahead and put your flames in the comments. And of course, let us know where you're listening in from. I am your host, Junior Frederick, and I have with me the man himself, Mr. Bobby Stealth. And today we're going to be getting into some interesting conversations as usual. Bobby, what's up?
Not much, Junior. I'm super excited. It's Friday. It's a phenomenal weekend in June, man. It's a phenomenal weekend in June. My birthday is this weekend, so I'm excited.
Oh, happy birthday in advance, man.
Yeah, man.
What are you doing? You know, Bobby, in the Caribbean, we don't have one day for our birthdays, bro. We have 3 days. That's
Really?
if my birthday falls on, let's say, a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's my birthday. If it falls
Oh
on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is my birthday.
man, I need to come to the Caribbean, man. Nah, that
Yes.
sounds amazing. But for me, nothing too crazy, man. Nothing too crazy. Probably going out to eat and getting a hotel room, man. Maybe get some time away to just think. Maybe a room on the water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we talking.
Yeah.
Guys, put it in the chat. Put some flames in the chat for Bobby. You know, it's Bobby's birthday, so we want to wish him a phenomenal birthday weekend. Yes, sir. We're gonna get into it. In fact, Bobby, let's jump right into it, man. A
Yeah.
quick shout out goes to Tia. I know Tia's watching, and everybody else. Let us know where you're listening in from. Let us know. I see Travis. So, shout out to Travis. How money works. I see you. Yes, sir. Phenomenal day. All right, so let's jump right in, Bobby. We'll just go right in. We'll get to the break a little bit later. So today's topic is we're gonna be talking about a little bit of work-life balance and of course achieving the impossible.
Mhm.
So Bobby, where do you want to start?
Yeah, I feel like work-life balance is the impossible. It's like everybody's trying to get it done, right? Everybody's trying to figure out how much time do I spend with my spouse? How much time do I spend with my kids? How much time do I spend building up myself, my business, and how much time do I spend giving back to my community, like actually being a human being? Because many people have church or they have philanthropic activities that they want to engage in, they want to give back. But then you have business, which is like, I want all your time, I want all your money, and I want all your life. And if you give me these things, in return, I will give you money, so to speak. I'll give you fame. I'll give you impact. But it's like you're giving so much to have these things, it seems like there's little time for anything else. And I feel like that dichotomy, the struggle to figure out how to integrate these things, because many people know that work life balance just is this buzzword, but it's not real. Like it's very difficult to balance like scales, business and life. It's like it's rarely ever a 50-50 relationship. It's oftentimes an integration of figuring out how to do as many things in your business while involving your family, and then involve your family in as many business activities as possible. So that's kind of been where I want to open up at. So it's like, what is your perspective on work life balance, on business and family integration? How do you approach it?
Yeah. First of all, I think the idea of balance is a false idea. Nothing in the world, nothing in the universe ever stays in balance. Either you're moving up or you're moving down. There's no such thing as balance because nothing stays still. What I look at is work-life integration, and to put it in a very simple way, take your family with you. That's it. Take your family on the journey with you. Like the people that you love, they want to see you win, but they want you to take them with you. So, for example, if you're going to a conference and you're married, take your wife with you. Don't go to the conference and come back home and try to explain to her, what happened in the conference. Take her to the conference with you. And Bobby, you'll be so surprised. A lot of the people, because a lot of times you're like, okay, this is we sort of compartmentalize, right? So we say this is the family, this is the wife, okay, and this is the the husband, and this is the business, right? And we sort of break them apart. But you'll be shocked, man, the amount of intelligence and the amount of potential that we're leaving behind by leaving behind our kids, our families, our wives, our husbands, etc., etc. That's absolutely crazy, man. You know, oftentimes once you integrate your partner, you end up finding out that your partner is a little bit smarter than you when it comes to business. They might be better at business than you, but you're not gonna know unless you integrate them into the business. So that's how I sort of think of it. Just take your family with you. So when I work out, I bring my son with me. He works out with me. Or my lady works out with me as well. If I'm doing some business event, I was studying the other day. I was training and I was taking notes. I had my book and everything, taking notes. And my son was there. He was looking at the training. So I'm taking my family with me, and that's sort of the way I think of it, Bob.
Mm. That's really good, Junior, because many people will argue with you. They will say something like this. They'll say something like, my partner doesn't like business. My partner doesn't care for what I care for. And because they don't care for it, it puts them to sleep. So, how can I take someone with me that doesn't want to go? So, what would you say to that person?
You gotta sell a dream.
That's about the
You
truth.
haven't sold a dream. If you okay, let's just say your wife didn't like business. Okay, your wife didn't like business. She didn't have any innate interest like you do. Okay, if you went to your wife and you said that, hey, what I'm doing right here, this is gonna take care of us for the rest of our lives. I know you want to go on vacation this summer. I know you have a couple of things you want to do. I know we need a new car, we need a new apartment. There's a lot of nice things that we want. We've always had the dream to do this and to do that. What I'm working on right here, this is gonna be the vehicle that's gonna take us to where we need to go. But here's the thing. You're my partner, right? Yes. And partners work together, correct? Yes. Can I do it on my own? I can. But I would love to take you with me. If I could, and this is a really big part, if I could help us to get everything we need by being successful at this one thing, can I take you with me? And I don't think anybody would say no to that. Even if they were not interested in business, Bobby, they
Hmm.
would at least make sure that you attended the meetings on time. Maybe like, hey, maybe she doesn't want to watch the training, but she'll say, hey, Bobby, it's time to train. Hey, Bobby, it's not time to eat. Hey, Bobby, you're fasting today. So that's what I mean. Like maybe they don't have to, be on the closing calls and be on the sales calls, but they can remind you of them. They could assist. There's something that they can do, even if it's just being a supporter. They don't have to actually do the business things. They could just support you in whatever you're doing. They could just be there. Just the presence of the person tells you, that they value you. So to me, that's very important.
Yeah, I think that something I want to point out for the audience is what you're receiving right now is very, very valuable information. Like y'all are probably like, what? We're just talking about family. Like we're just talking about family. Well, in the book Think and Grow Rich, one of the main causes of failure is marrying the wrong person. Marrying the wrong person. Now, I'm not saying that you've married the wrong person or anything if your business isn't where you want it to be, but I will say this conversation that we're having right now, what Junior just laid out, is one of the best conversations we never have. It's one of the best conversations we never have. Like most entrepreneurs, myself included, when I got started and I was married, I compartmentalized the business from the marriage. In my mind, I said, I'm a hunter and she's the gatherer. I'm about to go out and hunt down some sales. and then I'm going to bring back the the money to pay the mortgage and put groceries in the house and pay for the minimal things. But because I didn't take my wife with me initially and originally, what ended up happening was there was a disconnect because there was never that conversation, the selling of the dream. There was the dream, and then there was love for me. So she kind of loved me, but didn't love the dream. And then imagine what happens. The dream becomes like a evil stepchild or something. It's like this dream is starting to become an outside entity. It's the one thing bringing us apart instead of the thing that's bringing us together. But if you don't have that conversation and sell them on the dream and sell
Yep.
them on the possibility of success as a whole, as a team, then what tends to happen in my experience is the dream becomes the enemy, and it becomes the one thing you cling to and the one thing they swear to destroy. And that is just a very tough home to stabilize.
Yeah. And I think this is a great conversation, particularly around values. So it's like, what do you value? Like, do you value your family over the dream? That's a real question. Like, do you value your family over business? Do you value your health over your family? Most people, when you really dig down into it, and this is most people, not everybody, obviously, everybody's different. And, everybody has their own values. Some people value things more than others. Most people will say, well, I value God. Like, if you're a religious or a spiritual person, you say God is number one. Then you say family comes right after. Then some might say business, others would say health. I would pick health over business because if you're not healthy, there's no way you can do business. And after health, I would look at family right under health. That's just me, not family, sorry, business. I'll put business right under health. So, I mean, on your scale of values, if your family comes before the business, then you should at least take them with you. I mean, integrating them is like the smartest thing to do. That way, they don't feel like you're putting the business above them. Because if most people, if you had a choice between choosing your family or the business, you take your family, wouldn't you? Right, Bobby, you take your family. So why not put the family first? Why not integrate the family with the business? I don't see why not. I think it's just that we never open ourselves up to that perspective. And by the way, I had to have somebody show me this perspective. I didn't just come up with this myself. I had to have a coach show me this perspective. Like, hold on, take the family with you. Take like your son wants to see you win, your daughter wants to see you win, but they want to know what does my father do, right? And Bobby, you know what? Once they see that, they start to understand why you work the way you work.
That's right.
But if they don't know about it. Like, and I could relate because a couple years ago, when I left college, I started working with my father. Prior to that, I had worked with him, very, very young, maybe like 8 years old, something like that. And then I never worked with him for like a long time.
Yeah.
But then when I got in the field, I started to see what life is like. It's like going to war every single day. you start to you start to understand, what your parents go through on a daily basis, and now you could appreciate like the struggle, the sacrifices, the investments. You know, you start to see things a little bit differently. But if I didn't have that experience, I cannot relate. I cannot relate to something I don't know. Your son cannot relate to something he doesn't know. Your wife may not be able to relate, sorry, to something that she doesn't know about. So if you don't share that kind of stuff, like when the time comes for you to make a move, take a trip, do this or do that, it's a problem. Or when you have to work, overnight, it's a problem because it's not their fault. They just don't understand it
Hmm.
because they've not been exposed to it. So I think that's very important. And I think the people who could do that, successfully do that, they end up having a better relationship, a better family life, a better business too. They may end up making more money, and a better team.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think this is one of the biggest reasons people should get into communities before they start building their business. Something that I've started to see more and more is that a lot of people are building their businesses from zero. Now, this may sound profound to you, but just listen, just listen. Most people that build businesses don't have revenue. So if you don't have revenue, guess what? You have to go out and learn how to do a lot of things. You got to learn how to market. You got to learn how to sell. You got to learn how to deliver your product. And you have to learn how to manage all of these activities in unison while doing whatever is paying for your operating expenses, which is usually a day job. Now, the reason this is very significant is because most people that get into business don't have time to do the research. Now, what am I saying there? A lot of people say, do the research, learn. But at the end of the day, the best time is now. So the dichotomy is this: you've got an opportunity to take action on imperfect information and just start moving. And then you've got the opportunity to wait until you know as much information as you possibly can to make sure your family goes with you. The reality is action takers are money makers. Procrastinators, they don't make no money. So if you're going to get the revenue, if you're going to get the money coming in, you're usually going to take action with imperfect information. And that's where I say the community is so important, because many times I took action with imperfect information, but I had a community that I could reference and talk to when I was in a bind. And some people don't do that. They make investments, but they have no community. Like, think about that. You're making investments, you're taking action with imperfect information because you're an action taker. You become a money maker, but you're a money maker with no counsel, with no community, with no one to say, hey, I just got myself in a bind. What do I do? I had 2 kids back to back while I was building my business, while in college, while in the United States Marine Corps. And guys, I would not have made it without the community, because there was times where I was like, I don't know how to do homework and do this. And there will be a lady that's raised 3 kids by herself, like a single mom. That would be like, hey, Bobby, this is how you do it. And then I'll be like doing XYZ. I'm like, hey, man, I got a deployment thing coming up. I'm supposed to be trying to retire out of the military. I'm trying to figure out how to get my benefits together. Then there'll be some service member that's like, oh, yeah, man, I retired like 2 years ago. This is how you do that. This is how you do that. And it's like you'll be moving through the process. And if you're in the right community, you can ask the right people at the right time what you need to know. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, because you're not going to know all the answers if you do this right. And you're going to find yourself in some interesting spots. And you want to be able to ask good questions at the right time.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, more on work-life integration. Stay tuned.
There's slow growth, and then there's scale. There's incremental growth, and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a 0 to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 plus 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 plus 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 plus 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 plus 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a 0 to you, you can add a 0 to the marketplace. You can add a 0 to the value that you bring. So you can add a 0 to your family, add a 0 to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a 0. Add a 0 to your competence, add a 0 to your confidence. This is about adding a 0 in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. In brand clarity, exactly what you're going to get is what it sounds like. Clarity for your brand. What is your color? What is your logo? What is your unique value proposition? Who are you speaking to? Why? How should you speak to them? How should I position myself? That's what you're going to learn in brand clarity. You need other people to have the same clarity on your brand that you do. But this is the gap. If you don't have clarity on your brand, then no one else is going to have clarity on your brand either. It's like messaging. Your message sounds clear to you, but is your end user receiving the value that you're trying to provide? I guarantee you that after you go through brand clarity, they will, and so will you. And that's how you'll scale your brand.
All right, guys, welcome back. Breakfast with the Brand. We're talking about work-life integration. This has been an interesting conversation so far, Bobby.
Yeah.
But as usual, man, I expect nothing less. Guys, listen, if you're learning something from this conversation, put a number one in the chat. In fact, put what is your main takeaway? What would be your main takeaway from this morning so far? All right,
Yeah,
Bobby, let's continue, man. So I think you were saying something just before we went off.
absolutely. I was just connecting the dots for why it's so difficult for many people to achieve that work-life balance. So one of the reasons it's so difficult is because you just don't know enough information when you dive in. You just don't. And many of us don't know how to implement quickly. So SOI, that's something that Shaan talks about a lot. Speed of implementation. I remember one time I was sitting in my office and I was thinking like, man, Shaan would really laugh at this. I was thinking about making a book, and the book was called How to Take a Shaan Rais Course. Because I had gone through so many courses and he was just like, boom, 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 giving us all this value. And I was like, man, these guys are struggling. I need to make a book on how to take a course from Shaan Rais. But even though that was just like a little fun thought experiment for me, what I want to talk about today is like speed of implementation. The only way you survive a course like marketing like a leader, branded like a leader, speaking like a leader, the way you survive those courses and optimize them is by taking massive action. As soon as you get some information, like as soon as they say, hey, build your ideal client profile, you finish it and have it done before the next meeting. If they say go live every day for an hour, you go live every day for an hour. What I find where many people just aren't able to take their families with them and everything breaks down on them is because they do not expect things to move as fast as they actually do. They think that they're going to take a course, they're going to be able to take the course, and the information is going to naturally download to their brains. And as the course downloads to their brains, the world is going to unfold for them, and everything's going to be easy, simple, and nice. But the reality is they're going to be learning information that they don't understand. They're going to have more information poured into them than they know how to process at the moment. And they're going to have to execute on things with a degree of faith, almost blind faith. Like they're not going to know if it's going to work or not, but they're trusting the person that it came from. And they're supposed to be taking action with trust. And if you don't take action, if you don't use this blind faith while taking massive action, and you don't get busy in the marketplace, then what tends to happen is the family starts to see all of the money going out,
Hmm.
all of the time going out, and none of the money coming in, none of the results manifesting. And this is because you're spending money for information and you're spending time to acquire the information, but you're not executing on the information as aggressively as you are consuming it. So it looks like a disproportionate return on investment. And that's something that crushes a lot of families because, and it's not necessarily crushing the family, but the trust. If you're the one making the investment, the person that is your partner is trusting that you've made a good investment. But if they're not able to see a return on the investment, then the trust starts to deteriorate and they stop trusting you to make investments, and then tension arises. because you need to make another investment, but they don't trust you to do it.
Yeah, I wrote down showing the fruits of your labor.
Hmm.
That's something that I don't think, I'm not sure. In fact, I don't know. I'm not sure if most entrepreneurs do that, but showing the fruits of your labor. So what does that mean? That means that, like, if you're making a little bit, it could be a little bit of money, Bobby, whatever it is, maybe like 1,000 a month, 2,000 a month. Try to show the partner that you're with the fruits of your labor. Try to, buy something. Show them, not buy something, but show them. Like, show them, even if it's not a materialistic thing. It could be a materialistic thing, by the way. So if you're a man and you're in business and your wife needs something, show her that the business can get her whatever that thing is. I'm not saying it has to be if you just start out, it has to be a brand new house or something like that, nothing crazy. But it could be something small. It could be something, something to show her that, hey, this thing is moving in the right direction. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, okay, we started with something small, but it's moving in the right direction. And also, if you're becoming a better man or a better woman or better person, like, show your partner that, but make sure to remind them that this is coming from the growth. So if you're in business and you're becoming a better father, you're becoming a better leader, you're becoming a better husband, wife, etc., etc., partner, show them that, hey, this is coming from the business, and we may not be, where we are right now, but just like, Martin Luther King, I have a dream. I have a dream. We may not be there right now, but I know where we're going, and this is everything, Bobby. So, you know, I mean, it's all about leadership. It's all about painting the picture. Like, if you're in a space right now, I mean, even if let's say you have no money at all, like you broke, you have no money at all.
Yeah.
If you know that you and your wife or you and your husband, you all need a new house, there's nothing wrong. Like, it's free to go house shopping. You know, it's free to go and look at houses, look at pieces of property, look at plots of land, and just talk. Like, I did this recently. There's this beautiful place on my island. It's about 20 minutes from me, and I visited there with my partner, and we were on the land. Like, you could just drive there. There's no gates or anything like that. And when you stand there, you could see the ocean. You could see the other island. You could see another island called St. Vincent from my island. It's so tall, and it's beautiful. It's Bobby's like a mountain. It's like a top of a hill. Like, it's like the king of the hill. And I'm standing on that plot of land, and I can literally see. I could see the house that I'm gonna have there. And I kept reminding her, like, hey, this is where the house is going. Stuff like that. I mean, doing little things to keep the vision alive, to keep the passion alive. Like, that's what you need. It's all about leadership. You have to be smart. You have to be a leader. Okay. And even when you have nothing, you still have something. You have your creativity. Bobby, like, if you're like me and you come from, like, I didn't have any like rich uncle or anything like that. My family is not the Rockefellers, okay?
Right.
You know how to make things work, right? So you can take a little and turn it to a lot. You can take a little and turn it to a lot. So it's all about creativity. It's all about the energy. It's all about forecasting, visioneering, forecasting the future, becoming a better person. Because at the end of the day, even if you have money, but you're not treating your partner the right way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So becoming a better person and showing to me your personal growth as a result of what you're doing in business, because business is not just about money. Business is also about personal growth. Business is about becoming a better person, becoming a better leader, becoming a better speaker, becoming a better team member, becoming a better everything, a better manager of finances, a better visionary, everything. You become better. When you become better as a person, you naturally become better in business. And if you could show that person that's rolling with you that, hey, I'm becoming better as a result of what I'm doing here in the business. We may not have the money as yet. We may not have the house as yet. We may not have the Ferrari and the Rolls Royce as yet, but we're on our way. You know, we're making it there, and we're moving the needle every single day.
Yeah. You know, Junior, this is this is something you got to get right sooner than later, because I look at it like a marathon, right? Imagine, before I go into the marathon analogy, I want to preface it with this. Most people think that getting their business off the ground is going to be a sprint. I cannot tell you how many people I know that say, "Oh, I'm keeping my business under wraps, and I can't talk to you about it unless you have an NDA, non-disclosure agreement,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to
Yeah.
do all these different things." And I'm like, so what you're telling me is that you believe this idea is so good that if you even share it with someone, it's going to take off. Someone's going to take your idea and they're going to get rich off of it. They're like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And what that first tells me, and what it should tell you too, is that they have a gross overestimation of how fast this is going to happen and how good they are going to be at it. It is very rare that people have an idea and that idea alone makes millions of dollars in a year or in 6 months or the moment they share it with somebody. It just doesn't work like that. In order to take a idea and turn it into a business, because an idea and a business are two different things, there's a significant amount of information that needs to be known, that needs to be acquired. There's a significant amount of work that needs to be done, and there's a significant amount of data that needs to be accumulated in order to build all this stuff out. So the reason this is very important with the conversation we're having today is because most people don't treat their spouses right or their partners right or communicate this information early enough because they don't think it's going to take that long. They don't think it's going to take that long. They're like, yo, if she can just hang in there for 6 months and I pop and I blow up and I'm rich, then hey, she made 6 months. Woo-hoo, 6 months. Or they may say to themselves, 18 months, man, I'm going to be a millionaire. Next 18 months. And they're, mind you, they're coming from zero. They've never owned a business. They've never generated sales in the marketplace. They don't know marketing. They don't know copywriting. They don't know sales. They're just like, I got an idea. And in the next 18 months, this idea is going to make me a multimillionaire. And they're dragging their partner. They're dragging them because they're like, hey, all it's going to take is a year and a half. And we're going to be rich, baby, rich. Like that's the idea. You're going to be rich. And then what ends up happening is they don't get there that fast and they end up being in a very strained relationship. So the reason I want to use the marathon analogy is because if you've ever seen a marathon, you know that these guys have little gel packs, right? They'll drink, they'll eat the gel pack, or they'll have a power bar. They'll eat the power bar. They'll stop at the Gatorade stand, and then they'll even have cold bottles of water by people every time they get to a checkpoint. That's one of the best ways to think about this. Is
Mm-hmm.
think about like, okay, what does the next checkpoint look like, and then monitor your partner or family's fatigue in conjunction with the next checkpoint. So like if somebody is crawling like literally in a marathon and they're like their bodies collapse, they're crawling to get to the next checkpoint, like that person needs some help. Like they may need two power bars, a break over in the corner somewhere in the shade, and some Gatorade. And then once they get their energy back up and their body temp has come down, their temperatures come down, they can get back out there and make it to the next checkpoint. But if you're not thinking that way, what tends to happen is we don't give those subtle acts of kindness. We don't show the fruits of our labor. We don't slow down just enough for people to catch their breath. Instead, we just floor it. And I think that's where a lot of maturity can come in and preserve the health of a relationship when someone's
Mm-hmm.
ability to simply understand that there's checkpoints, define those checkpoints and figure out what you're going to be giving as support to people on the journey to the checkpoint. So just kind of know what water looks like, know what Gatorade looks like, so on and so forth. So if that's a night out, if that's a new purse, if that's a getaway, like whatever it is, it needs to be designed to rejuvenate them.
Yeah, that's a good one, Bobby. I wrote down the defining checkpoints. That's a really good one. That's a really good one. Yeah, and there are many other strategies that we could talk about when it comes to couples, in particular, when it comes to kids in particular. But we'll get into that, man. We'll get into that. We're about to go to a quick break, guys. When we come back, more on the topic. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I said Shaan Ride East. I'm proud. I said Shaan Ride East. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes. So when you're young, mommy tells you to play nice. Play nice, Timmy. Let all of the other kids play too. But in business, it's not about playing nice. In business, it's about winning. It's about adding multiple zeros to your revenue. Now, of course, your staff wins. And when you win, other people win. However, when it comes to competition, you absolutely must dominate. You can't play for participation, and you can't play just to get along or just to get by, because business is serious. Business will help you to change the world, or the world will change you. Your people will either win or your people will lose based on your level of leadership, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, and how much you know about dominating.
All right, guys. So we are back, and we're talking about work and life integration. Okay, so we've covered some phenomenal points, mainly taking your family with you. We've also dropped a little bit of game on how to keep it going, man. Keep it going. Listen, Bobby, in everything you do, you have to be smart. You have to be smart, and you have to be a leader. So you have to, and it all comes down to leadership at the end of the day. Like, are you the kind of leader that can keep the family together, that can inspire the family to move in one direction? It's the same thing like a team. If you can't inspire your team to move in one direction, then how good of a leader are you? So the family is your first team.
That's right. That's right.
The family is your first team. So if you're the leader of your team, if you're the leader of your family, you have to be able to put the inspiration, put the vision into people's minds and help them to see that, hey, this is not only for me, this is for all of us. And show them how important their role is. Okay? There's a saying, I hope I get it right. It goes like something like this. It says, when you encounter a boss Okay, when you encounter a boss, you know how important they are. But when you encounter a leader, you know how important you are.
It's good.
So when you encounter a boss or a manager, you know how important they are. So are you running it like a boss? Like, are you like, I got to do this and this is so important and that's important. What I'm doing is so important. What I'm doing is all about helping the family and da 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 da. So they know exactly how important what you're doing is, okay? But do they know how important they are?
Hmm.
There's a big difference.
That just saved the marriage somewhere, somewhere on the internet.
Yes, sir. It's true. When you meet a leader, the leader highlights you. The leader shows you, like, hey, Bobby, what you're doing is so important. And this is how what you're doing is contributing to the overall vision of what we're building. And we cannot do it without you. So if you're talking to the wife, like how do you show or have you showed her how what she's doing contributes to what you're doing? Like how important is her support? And in reality, it's like you cannot have a bad personal life and then have a phenomenal business.
Mhm.
This just doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. You cannot have a bad personal life and then have a phenomenal business. I've never seen that. So how are you showing the people in your life how important what they do is? They know how important what you do is. I'm sure you made sure to tell them that listen, honey, I'm doing this, I'm working on the business, I'm building the website, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's very important because this is gonna help us to do X, Y, and Z and da 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 da. So you're talking about how important what you do is. What about them? Like how important is what they do, and how are you explaining that?
Hmm. Junior, it's to me, I feel like we should know this, but we don't. And when I say we should know this, I mean like we go through school, right? You go through school in the Caribbean, we go through school in the US. We learn all of these things, but nobody teaches leadership. We learn all these things, but nobody teaches you business. We learn all these things, but no one talks about keeping the family together, building phenomenal businesses, and cultivating good leaders. If they're talking about those three things, it's usually in your elites areas and arenas. And the reason I bring that up because imagine, guys, what your life would look like if you got this right. And when I say your life, I mean the generations that follow you. So my mother and father probably didn't get this right. Not to the degree that I'm getting it right now because they got divorced and I was raised by a single mother and my dad had to go start another family. And with that being said, was it his leadership? Maybe. Was it my mother's inability to see her value? Maybe because he didn't convey it. Possibly. I don't know. I wasn't there. Well, I mean, I was there, but I wasn't conscious enough to understand what was happening. So, this conversation we're having right now, I think, is so important because it's not a conversation you're going to have in many other areas because these conversations aren't had unless they need to be had. Like, have you all ever noticed that? Like, tough conversations are rarely conversations that, what do they say? You don't talk about religion, you don't talk about politics, that other
Yeah,
stuff. Right? Like, the most important things that, like, rule the
yeah.
world, you're the things that are forbidden to talk about. Like, you can't talk about intercourse, these things. Like, that's what brings human beings into the world. And we can't talk about it and the way to manage it and healthy ways to manage it. So like we've got all of these taboo topics, and then we have real life scenarios, and then you have this group of people that know, which are the people that are leveraging it effectively and making their families better by the information that they have. And then you have the people that don't know it. and they're losing their families left and right. Their kids are being raised in broken homes left and right. And the leadership is not even a thought. Like there are no books on leadership. There's no channels like you got BET, MTV, TNT, all of these networks for people that watch television. Like those, none of those networks are leadership networks. They're all entertainment of some kind. But granted, it's television. So I say that to say this: if you don't take it seriously, no one else is. Like I'm telling you that right now. Like if you don't take leadership, family, and business seriously and the integration of that, unless you're in environments and communities like this, you will not hear about it. Because if you would hear about it, you would have heard about it already. But the reality is, this is probably the first time you're hearing this type of conversation to this level, to this degree, with this degree of in-depthness, meaning nobody's talking about it. So I just wanted to touch on that, Junior, as you're taking us deeper into some of the leadership qualities needed. Because I have one thing that I want to share before we leave, but I'll turn it over to you before I share that last point that I have.
Yeah, my last point would be everything rises and falls on the leader. And I was in a coaching session the other day, and my coach said it all rises and falls with the belief in the leader. Now, let me just break that down. Bobby, if you're going into, let's say you're going into a war or you're going into some kind of situation where you need a team, like to the extent that the team will follow you, will all be based on the belief in you, like the belief in you as a leader, like the bottleneck of a company, of a family, of a team is always the belief in the leader. So the question everybody have to ask themselves, and this is me included, because I'm on my growth journey, is have you given your partner, your team, your whatever reason to believe in you? Or have you given them reason to not believe in you? And that's just a tough conversation to have. Now, you don't have to answer me. You don't have to tell me. You have to tell yourself. You have to tell yourself the answer. And if you're honest, I'm sure you'll find areas where there's potential for growth. I'm sure you will. So that's what I would say. Like, check yourself, right? Check yourself and just ask yourself, like, are you the kind of leader that inspires discipline, that inspires action, that inspires loyalty? And if you're not, that's okay. But how can you get there? And that's all I'll say.
Man, that was powerful, Junior. Mini clinic, like real quick, 2 minute clinic. The belief in the leaders was huge. And have you given people a reason to believe in you is the two things that I wrote down from that. The last thing that I'll share with you guys before we get out of here is mountaintop leadership versus base mountain mutinies. Now, this comes from a story in the Bible about Moses. And Moses went to get the 10 Commandments. And when Moses went to get to the 10 Commandments, it said that he had to climb this very big mountain. The mountain was called Mount Sinai. And when he's climbing this mountain, he leaves Aaron back behind with the troops, with the rest of the Israelites. He goes to the top of this mountain and there's like thundering, there's lightning. He's in the presence of God, so to speak. And in this presence, I mean, he's getting all types of glory, power, insights, strength. And then he's got these stone tablets and he comes, marching down from the mountain in order to give the people the rules and the laws that are going to preserve their righteousness and all these different things. When he gets down there, he finds something so appalling that he throws the stone tablets on the ground. They break in half and he gets like super angry. So what he finds is that that Aaron has fashioned this golden calf for the people to worship. And it's because the people came from Egypt. So when they were in Egypt, they had all these different gods, so to speak, that they would engage with, and then they were just they lost hope. They didn't see the leader. The leader wasn't present, and they didn't see why he wasn't present. They didn't know what to do. They were just there. And then they got consumed by their emotions. And then when they got overcome with emotion, they said, fashion us a calf that we can worship to alleviate the pain. And the reason I share this story with you guys is because one of the most interesting, I think, responsibilities of the leader is to apply pressure and monitor pain axes. Now, the reason this is very important is because pressure makes diamonds, guys. No pressure, no diamonds. The reason pain is significant is because pain precedes growth. No pain, no gain. But you have to, as the leader, be thoroughly engaged with the pain thresholds of your team, and also the PSI, which is the pressure measurement of your situation. Because the moment the pressure is too much, guess what? Pipes burst. And as soon as the pain is too much, guess what? People pass out. And that's exactly what happened with the Israelites and Moses. And the interesting thing was, like, the part that I took away from the story is Moses is leading these guys, and he's doing something great. He's up there getting the 10 Commandments. He's getting this information, but he did not ensure that people that he left were equipped to operate in his absence. So because they weren't equipped to operate in his absence, they then fashioned for themselves something to pacify the pain instead of to manage it. And I think that's what good leaders have to do, is they have to have the foresight to understand what to leave their people with, so that when they do step away, those people are successful. Because the leaders are always going to have to step away at some point.
Yes, sir. All right. So, guys, we're going to end here for today. We will be back tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This has been Breakfast with the Brand. If you have any questions, you could reach out to myself or reach out to Bobby directly. Have a phenomenal day, and let's grow.
Let's grow.